Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my girl, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I got my vax yesterday.
Yay! Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
My first one,
Congrats.
my baby girl got hers like a week and a half ago and came home bitching and moaning about how much it hurt. Oh
Oh
my, it
yeah.
hurt so bad. It was the worst shot of my life. And so I go
Uh-huh.
get it and it's nothing. So I message her. I'm like, baby girl, you got to man up. And she's like, well, maybe you just weren't tense. I'm like, well, maybe you just have to man up. I don't know. I don't know what to
Hmm.
tell you. It didn't hurt, but no side effects. I'm good.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, I think the first one's cake. Totally. I think the second one is where people tend to, I mean, everybody's different, and I hope that you don't feel like complete dog shit, but I felt like complete dog shit for a day. Totally worth it in the end. But for that 24-hour period, I was like, Matt, come bring me water.
Well,
I'm
I did
dying.
sleep like I had COVID. When I had it, I every day I was sleeping like 12 hours and I'm a light sleeper. Like I get up every day at 6 o'clock and it doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock, right? So I went to bed last night at 9 o'clock and it's one of those perfect sleeps, right? You go to
Mm.
sleep, I wake up, I look at my clock, it says 1 a.m. I'm like, oh man, I've been sleeping forever. So I go back to sleep. I wake up. I'm not shitting you. It said 12 a.m. I'm like, I lost an hour somehow. Like, this is great. Like, I was so out of it. I couldn't tell
Weird.
time in the dark because, I wear glasses and I don't wear my glasses to bed. And it's the next thing I know, I wake up. It's like 7 a.m. I'm like, oh,
Weird.
this is the life.
Huh.
This is
Huh.
the life. And that was groggy for like 2 hours after that, but then I was fine.
You entered the time warp for real.
I think I did. We hit like
Damn.
a COVID time warp.
Hmm.
It was awesome. We got all these ladies listening to me. They're like, "Who is
I know.
this
They're like,
jackass?
what is he
Like, just
talking about? This is
talking
so
about his
boring.
sleep habits. This is not what we signed up for." So we have three guests on tonight. So we thought this would be fun. So since most of you guys listening, or both of you guys listening, are
Our
probably
moms.
CrossFitters. If you guys haven't noticed, so Morning Chalk Up's been blasting kind of their page with stories representing female athletes within our community and telling their story about all the horrible and kind of grossness that comes along with the internet, whether it's DMs or stalking or just like some real weirdness. And this is a topic that Nikki and I have talked about. How many times have we talked about this, Nikki? Like
Oh
half a
my gosh, it
dozen,
feels like half
maybe?
a dozen times. Yeah, because we've had guests on. Danny specifically is one who is featured heavily in the Morning Chalk Up article and has been very vocal about this kind of thing on our show, and we're very good friends with her. So we've had kind of like the center mouthpiece speaking on it directly on the show, as well as Jessica, who runs the You Look Like a Man page. But outside of even just those two sort of like figureheads for what all of this means, I feel like a ton of guests we've had on, we always kind of just like get into the like, well, what like weird DMs are you getting conversation, because it is so prevalent. It's
No.
wildly easy to discuss because it is everywhere.
Well, and it feels like it's something new every time we bring it up. It's like we went from it just being something as I hate to say simple, but it was like with Danny, it started with foot picks, and now like I think the last episode was like furries, and like all kind
It
of
gets more complicated the deeper you
yeah,
go, for sure.
so complicated. And so I thought, we should make it an actual topic and talk about it. But I wanted to bring some people on that I knew that some on here I've met before in person, others I haven't, but I've known them all through Instagram, which is not shocking. And I thought it'd be nice to get some kind of everyday CrossFitters on here. So no offense, ladies, but not games athletes. Soon to be, hopefully, for all of you.
Potentially,
Yeah,
always.
potentially. And so let me kind of go around the horn, Nikki. I'm gonna tell you how I know each of these, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
just kind of jump in. So I'll start with Hannah. So Hannah Gula is kind of a badass athlete. So here's the funny thing about Hannah. So Hannah was following me. I ran into Hannah at the CrossFit games. I know you remember this
Yeah.
because I I was with, oh my god, who was I with? I was with a games athlete.
Christine. Christine Best.
Yes, Christine Best. It was the year she didn't qualify, Nikki, because she got busted on those wall balls during the Open, and she didn't qualify. And so she and I were hanging out, and we were walking through the tent where they've got all the booths. And Hannah, what was the name? What was the name of the booth we were at? It was like
Oh,
It's like
I
Jack's
don't know.
Hot Pocket or
Yeah, I do
something.
push-ups. That's all I remember.
Yeah, so this 2-minute push-up challenge, right? Where they were giving out, it was like a $500 first prize, like a gift card.
Damn.
And it was, but you had to do as many push-ups as you can in 2 minutes. And Hannah was the top name on the board. And
Oh shit.
yeah, and then Christine Best is like, I'm gonna win that $500. And then Christine entered, and then those two they tied, and they had to do a push-up off. It was great. It was
Who
really cool.
won?
Christine beat me by 1.
Yeah,
Damn
like
it.
1 rep.
Oh my God.
Rude.
But seriously,
God.
like with 1 rep of a games
But I did
athlete.
end up getting 2 Hot Pockets because she didn't eat Hot Pockets because she's a games athlete. So like, win some, you lose some, I guess.
Fair. There's a lot I would do for a Hot Pocket. So
It wasn't that good
I
a
can
Hot
respect
Pocket,
that.
Nikki. Trust
Really?
me. It was like, yeah, it was like some sort of CrossFit organic, like.
Oh, it wasn't just
you
a
know.
regular Hot Pocket? I'm out.
I want a good old fashioned microwavable.
Yeah,
You have
ham
to
and
actually
cheese
eat it
burn
in
my
the bathroom.
tongue.
It's so bad for you, Hot
Yeah.
Pocket. Like that's what I want, you know. Anyway, so Hannah's got all of you guys have really interesting Instagram pages. Hannah's a great athlete, great lifter, and puts up really interesting content in that regard. Former gymnast too. Am I remembering that right? Like,
Mhm.
so lots of like really varied stuff and lots of funny stuff too. Like I love funny account. Like I don't just follow anybody, but I love funny accounts, and Hannah's got some really funny stuff. As a matter of fact, she sent me a video once of her falling off the rings that has the loudest splat of hitting the floor of any video I'd ever gotten.
It hurts so much.
Oh, I bet it did. But it was epic. As a matter of fact, you need to send it back to me. I need to reuse that. It was great.
Okay.
So then we'll also, and then immediately next to her is Mercedes Weinberg, who I don't know how long I've been following you, Mercedes, but it's a while.
Maybe like a year and a half since the Open in October.
Yeah.
that
So
year.
Nikki, be nice. She's from Canada.
Ooh.
Okay.
I have been known apparently to hate Canada. As apparently, I don't know. As people have told me, I hate Canada, but I have never said those words myself. So.
We'll tell you guys the story off the air.
That's
And
stupid.
if anyone wants to know, just DM Nikki. She needs them anyway.
Don't DM me about the Canada shit.
Yes.
Please.
Anyway, Mercedes is an awesome coach and also a very good athlete. And like all of you guys, really interesting content. Like I love to watch people getting coached and like learning things. And so it's like a good balance on your page, Mercedes, of like you teaching others and then you learning things, which I think is really interesting to see. And a really heavy lifter. All you guys are heavy lifters, which makes an old guy like me really sad for myself. Just jealousy, pure jealousy. And then in the bottom, last and certainly not least, Isley Boyarsky, who I met in person for the first time. I was hanging out with the WOD Prep people. Isley had a friend or has a friend with the WOD Prep team, and we ran into you. Was it Strength and Fitness? Is that the name of the gym? there?
Downtown Strength and Conditioning.
Yeah, Strength and Conditioning. They're going to
Yeah.
hate me for getting their name wrong.
God, cut all of this out of the show.
I know. Isley was lifting like 1,000 pounds. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like she's literally like snatching and clean and jerking. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, I'm going to be happy to use these 35-pound dumbbells today, you know, which is just always fun. And again, kind of the same thing, like really funny content, fun stuff. And, you know, we have a mutual friend. So we had made a connection there and give Isley extra points right after the game, right after Wadapalooza. I had to travel for work when I was patient 0 for COVID, by the way.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I went to Boston. Well, Isley lives in Boston.
Yeah.
She drove out to the hotel and had a drink with me because I was in town by myself. Like so nice. You know?
Neighborinos. I
It was
see
a
you and
good
me have to
time.
get together for drinks when COVID is like when I can drink, and then also when COVID is no
I'm
longer
down.
a thing. Yeah.
Down for sure.
So that's the group. So that's why everybody's here. You know, a bunch of you know, very talented, but you know, names that probably no one has watched the, you know, or listened or watched this on YouTube yet are totally familiar with, but soon will be.
Yeah.
When you all
So
make the games.
so what I love is having just a group of badass women that are regular, like contributing members to the general CrossFit community that we all know and love so much. And John, can you explain a little bit about how they got here? Because you called me the other night and you were like, I have this idea. I'm going to put this question out onto social, and I want to like spark discussion with folks who are, just a part of this community that we know and love.
Yeah, well, I thought about it, putting it in my story and just doing like a general solicitation. And then I'm like, man, I don't want that kind of crazy. Like, like, no offense to people that listen or follow, but like, that's just asking for 500 DMs, which is
Yeah.
kind of the point of this podcast, and certainly nothing I wanted to deal with. So I started like kind of scrubbing through the names of, and because I follow you guys, like I kind of have a sense of what you deal with, and like I see your day-to-day training, and we've heard from so many people this goes on. I'm like, got to be happening to them too. And so I message each of them separately, and they're like, oh yeah, this totally happens to me, So it was like, I hate to call it a slam dunk, and I'm not making fun of it, but I went 3 for 3 on my choices. But they were all people that I interact with on a regular enough basis that I felt like, they would be comfortable talking. I mean, because this isn't really a man's topic, for whatever that's worth, in my opinion. But I thought they'd be comfortable with me here, and I don't know, they'll say what's ever on their mind, maybe more than we want them to, even. So we'll see.
Impossible.
I
fully support it. I think that a lot of what made me interested in having you gals on to chat was going through the comment section on the story clips that the Morning Chalk Up had been posting. That so how do I say this without
It was
sounding
brutal.
like, yeah, I was gonna say it's just a giant dumpster fire. So every time the Morning Chalk Up would post a snippet or something in the articles, about how these famous CrossFit athlete women are dealing with the worst, most disgusting DMs, just unsolicited dick pics and really inappropriate language and bullshit. A lot of the comments are always like, hey, well, if you don't like this kind of attention, then maybe you shouldn't post a butt pic, or maybe you shouldn't be so famous, or maybe you shouldn't basically ask for it. And I think that is something that something that infuriates me on another level, but aside from that, something that people might think only applies to women who have hundreds of thousands of followers, or women who, I don't know, post one kind of content versus another kind of content. And outside of the fact that argument is trash, because how about you stop the fucking harassment, regardless of the outcome or the other end of things? I do think it's an important conversation to explain to people and enlighten people that this is a problem across the board. And it is magnified by people who maybe have larger followings or louder voices in our community, but it is a problem across the board. And that's why I'm very happy to have you guys here to kind of chat about it.
Yeah. So thanks, ladies. We appreciate it. I don't know who we want to start with, Nikki. Does it matter?
No.
All
No,
right.
it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to have the equally horrifying stories.
Well, they're also all likely to rant on you, for whatever that's worth. So that's how everyone I know rolls. So why don't we just start at the top and work our way around clockwise? So when we start with Hannah, how about that? Does that work?
Yep. So Hannah, when John reached out to you and was like, hey, this is obviously like a hot topic right now, have you experienced this? What is your DM inbox look like? What caused you to be like, oh yes, I'd be good for your show. Let me tell you what goes on in my world.
Oh, I just sent him a screenshot of my message request. I'm like, yeah, I've got content.
I have it. What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah, like probably I get maybe 5 messages a day, like all asking like it varies, but it's like I'm just reading them off right now. It's like, hey, can I pay you to FaceTime me? Hey Hannah, I think you're absolutely adorable. I want a bicycle at Thunder Bay to see you. Like, what?
Pardon?
Hey beautiful, I'd be needing a chat buddy who I can always talk to, and I don't need nudes. I'd be glad to help you financially if you don't mind.
Oh, and I don't need nudes. Well, how polite.
Yeah, among other things, but like got crazier stuff. Don't have any because I delete them. They're scarring. But you get, all the dick pics and all the videos, which are much worse than the pictures.
How long have you been on Instagram?
Probably since I was in 10th grade. This would have been when I was like 15, like 7 years.
Okay. And so how long into the experience did it take for this sort of thing to start coming at you?
It would have started probably after high school, because I wasn't really posting much in high school. Like I was just kind of using it to see what everyone else was up to. But once I started posting like my own photos, then I started getting all these messages.
Hmm.
Is it the same experience for you, Mercedes? Same like kind of time frame?
Yeah, I'd say like once I started actually posting like lifting videos and like progress pictures and things like that, like I'd say about 2 years ago, that was when but like the past year, it's just gotten worse and worse.
Really?
Mhm.
Anything that you can point to you think is making it escalate, or just general public being stuck at home in a
I
pandemic doing stupid shit?
Yeah, that could definitely be a factor if people have nothing better to do. I honestly don't know what had happened though. Someone had actually taken a screenshot of one of my flexing pictures back in the summer and they posted it on like a muscle page and without my permission and tagged me in it. And I got like 500 followers. Um, and you can guess how many of them were pervs who then just proceeded to send me a bunch of messages, like the max. Like I think I got 28 messages in one day. And like I can't even read them anymore. I just delete them all. I don't even look at them anymore. And it's just gotten much worse within the past like couple months, I'd say would be like when it's really increased. But
Yeah, and speaking off of that, like with someone stealing your pictures, like I had someone create a fake OnlyFans of me and
No.
create a fake Instagram promoting said fake OnlyFans.
yeah, that's fucked.
So like took your photo and was like, "Hey, this is Hannah's OnlyFans. Follow it from
Yeah.
this fake Hannah Instagram account."
Yeah, like I have this fake, I don't know if you can see that, but like that's not me, but that's my
Yeah.
photo.
Can you report it? Have you
Yeah,
reported?
have you
Yeah,
reported
I
it?
got the account taken down, but it's just like I don't know, at least do the work yourself.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
At least go out there and post nudes for God's
Commission me,
sake.
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
And Isley, how about you? How long did it take your
Um,
experience?
Mine started more probably within the last 2 years, and I had Instagram. I started maybe like 8 years ago, but it was more as I just started getting fitter and posting more lifting videos. I don't have a lot of like transformation pics. Most of mine are just like lifting photos, or photos from work. And if you do like, I don't hashtag stuff a lot because every time that I hashtag anything that's like Flex Friday or anything like that, that's literally when they all come. So I just stopped hashtagging things. And now I just get a couple random ones throughout the period of a week or two.
I never made that connection. The
Yeah,
hashtag.
I don't hashtag shit.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna stop doing that then.
Well, isn't that fucked? And
That
I
is
think that this part of the entire culture around this that we need to talk about and we need to like be vocal about is the harassment is forcing the innocent victims to change their behavior.
Yeah, I don't think you shouldn't have to hashtag. I just think people
Right.
shouldn't be shitty. But
Right.
it's just
Right.
like,
But you
I'm just
don't
like,
want to deal with
"Eh."
it yourself. So I fully
Yeah.
respect it. I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's just that's what the weird like victim blaming of like, well, maybe don't post that, or like, if you don't want this kind of attention, don't have 200,000 followers or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that is what's part of this whole thing that's so fucked up is like if you don't want it, change your behavior versus let's teach mainly men.
Yeah.
Let's teach the men to not be asshats
Yeah.
and harass women.
Exactly. It's
It's
easier.
that
It's easier
simple.
for them to blame us, because
Which is so
why would you take responsibility for your actions or whatever? I don't know.
Isley, what does that do to your psyche when you have to like? I think of change. Like I know it seems simple, probably to people listening, going, "Okay, well, we're not going to do hashtags, so that's no big deal." But to me, that's no different than I don't know, changing the way you walk home
Mhm.
from the grocery
Mhm.
store because you're afraid someone might attack you. Like, what's that do to your psyche?
It's kind of just like shitty because sometimes too, you feel almost like dirty when people are sending you stuff, even though it's not your
Totally.
fault. And so you feel guilty and you feel like you can't actually like authentically be yourself because yourself is attracting too much attention, and having to like dull yourself for other people sucks. So it's less than ideal. um, I don't think too deep into it anymore because at first it was like annoying, and then I was just like, I'm someone that if something is bad, I'm just like, okay, don't think about it. I don't know if that's like the healthy way to mentally come about things, but I'm like,
Push it down all the way down. Just don't even address it. I'm sure it'll
Or
be
go
fine
away.
later. No, I
Yes.
get where you're coming from.
Also put alcohol on top of it. That
Right.
helps.
Also that.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense because there's so much that once you really stop to think about it, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like the internet is just this like vast wasteland of hot garbage. And if you really stop to be like, how many of these messages am I getting? And how many, what am I have to do to myself to get them or not get them? Like it's those are overwhelming questions. It's too much.
So Hannah, you mentioned someone had at least one of those DMs said they wanted to bicycle up to where you are. Like, have you had any experiences where people have done that, like just randomly shown up? I mean, you're pretty public about where you live, where you train, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty fortunate that that hasn't happened to me. I mean, I guess it's a real possibility that it could happen, but
Now I've got you freaked out. I'm sorry. I feel bad now.
No, I mean, it's
fine.
true. You never know. People are
Internet
nuts.
safety.
Yeah.
Stranger danger.
I had a guy in my DMs. I didn't respond to him and he got really mad. And so he started listing off, he found my Facebook profile and started listing off all the places that I lived in caps at me. And I was like, cool. This is cool.
That's scary.
What? For real?
Yeah, that was like last week.
God.
Last week?
Yeah.
The fuck?
He got mad that I just wasn't responding and I was still posting stuff on my stories.
Oh, like, bitch, you see this. I know you see it. Yeah.
He's like, do you not have any cell reception in Whitefish, Montana? Because that was like where I was from before I lived here. And I was just like, okay.
How did you deal with that? Like, what did you do?
I just didn't respond. A lot of people were like, you should block him and you should do this and you should do that. And while that's like understandable, I feel like if someone's that crazy, they're just going to create a fake profile and they're still going to read your shit. So blocking them doesn't matter. And so I was like, I think this guy might be crazy enough that if he was actually going to have the balls to do something, he would announce that he was going to do something. And if he didn't, like, I live in a place where I get followed a lot walking home. Like it's not abnormal for me to get like yelled at on my porch or like any of that stuff. So I'm kind of like used to it, for lack of a better word. So if he actually wanted to come try something, I would take care of it. And I don't know what else to say.
Good for you. Hell yeah,
I don't I don't want to, but I will. So I just didn't really change anything. I just kept on ignoring him. And if they wanted, like, it sucks to have to like live on edge and be like, well, someone could attack me. But once again, it's one of those things where I was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
How often does that happen? Like I've seen in your story multiple times, at least twice, like in recent memory, one of a guy following you while you were out, I think on a run. And then there's another time some guy doing lewd stuff as you were driving. Like how often does that happen?
If I go out in public a lot, I just don't go out in public where I live anymore. I drive everywhere, or I like go drive somewhere to walk. But every time I go out, I can't not get talked to at least 5 times if it's in like a 45-minute time period. And I've definitely gotten followed. Like while I've been running, I was running 400s and they didn't expect me to turn around and they were filming me running. And I have been out on my porch. So I live in a duplex and I go into the other part of the house sometimes, and it was like 7 a.m. and I got a guy harassing me at 7 a.m. to go to breakfast while I was like in my bathrobe on my porch. But yeah, every time I walk, someone follows me for a bit or yells at me a lot about things and stuff.
Dude, what the fuck? What is happening? What is happening in your neighborhood? Where are these guys coming from?
Rough.
The Boston's a little heavy sometimes.
Jesus. Mercedes, you were kind of like nodding along to a lot of what Isaac was saying about.
I'm not as brave as she is, for sure. I definitely am terrified of that all the time. I have a situation, or had a situation. I used to answer these messages. I don't anymore. I've learned not to. It does not help. But I remember it was like, I don't remember what the guy had said. And then he was like, how are you? And then I was like, I'm good. How are you? And then he was like, I'm good. And then he like tried calling me. And I was like, what's happening? And then I
do that.
And then he did it again, ended it. And he's like, please answer. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I don't. Then he tried calling me again. So like, I'm panicking. I block him.
Good.
And then like 5 seconds later, brand new account. Please call me. Please call me. I want to talk to you. Tries calling me again. I'm like, oh my God, it's the same person. Blocked him again. And he did that like 6 times within the same evening until because because it comes into message requests, and then when you open it or whatever, and then you're talking to them, it like goes into your thing. But instead, what I did is I just deleted it, or I think I just left it open. I don't know what I did, but then it makes it so that I didn't block him, so then he kind of left it alone. But it was like, what is happening right now? And then I'm like, if this person is this crazy, they can figure out like exactly like where I work, where I live, all that kind of stuff. And it is kind of scary to think about if some person becomes, and a lot of people have some serious mental health issues. And that's pretty much what I tell myself. Like, sure, guys are assholes. There are a lot of guys out there that are huge egos and they think they have the right to do anything to you and say anything to you. But there's also people who just have like mental problems and who don't know right from wrong in any way, and they could definitely do something. And that's more so what I'm scared of. Whereas like I feel like people, I haven't, yeah, that's how I rationalize it, I guess.
No, I totally agree. And I think the total irrational quality of the rage that comes with like, you're not answering me, or you're not picking up the phone, or, you owe me a response. Like you can't fight that kind of crazy, because that is irrational.
They have a sense of entitlement. They have this like sense of entitlement that we like owe them our time or our thoughts or our anything. And I don't know why they have this sense of entitlement.
No, and it's a very sad fall from grace that someone like Mercedes experiences, where you're like, oh, okay, I'll just respond and be polite because I'm a nice, kind, polite person.
I was, I'm not anymore.
I was, and now I'm not. Right, exactly. It gets me to a point where now I'm concerned for my own safety, or or I didn't deserve to be made to feel like this, and like now I'm not going to be that nice, kind, polite person who would just respond, because oftentimes it starts with like a, hey, how are you? And you're like, well, I'm a bitch if I don't write, I'm fine, how are you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Like, that's the sad realization, is like, be a bitch, because you don't owe anybody shit.
It's true. And people just get more and more upset too. Like there are some, it's consistent when it's like the same person. You can tell like they have the same picture, and you delete it, you delete it, you delete it. And then the messages get worse and worse and worse. I delete, like Hannah, like I delete them right away. I'll read them sometimes, but I delete them. I don't save them. I don't need to see those. Sometimes I'll like save them for later and show some people at the gym because they're funny. Cause I'm like, wow, what is this? But it's gone after, because I don't want to think about it. I don't need to spend my time thinking about that. But then I'll get like more messages. Why aren't you answering me? And then like all of a sudden, like accusations, like you're photoshopped, you're fake, like you're on steroids, like you're this, you're that. And then starting like they call me like names. They'll call me a slut. They'll call me a whore. And I'm like, I don't even know you. So that's cool, like
the discrediting and the like the painting some sort of picture of you that you are or aren't, but that they get to decide. It's so I mean, it's like mental. It's totally
they can't accept that I'm not answering them either.
Right.
It's like their ego's too big that they're like, oh, she's just like not real then, or something.
Right. Totally.
Like, rationalize in their head, or they're just trying to get a response too. That's another thing.
You know what I find super interesting, and Hannah and I were kind of talking about this before John hit record, but I every time I post a picture of my husband or like my family, I lose followers. And anyone with a decent following understands that like the follower count fluctuates a lot, right? Like sometimes you get a bunch of people in for whatever reason, and sometimes Instagram cleans out bots and you lose a shitload. And for me, I oftentimes think when I lose followers, it's probably people who followed me on like an event weekend or something, who they were there for updates, or maybe for behind the scenes stuff, or maybe for athlete interviews. And then when they realize that eventually down the road that my Instagram is like mainly just about me and my life and my dogs, they're like, okay, I'm not really interested in this chick. I just wanted to follow her like at Granite Games or while she was at the games or something like that. But it is weirdly consistent that every time I post like a photo of myself and my husband, that I lose followers like at a large rate, an enormous rate. And Hannah, I know that's something that you sort of have noticed too, right? Like if you have a man in your profile.
Yeah. So it's like anytime that you post a photo like with anybody where it would like maybe like insinuate that you're not single anymore, then your followers go down or the photo nobody likes it or whatever. Which is really interesting, I think, because it's like, oh, you're not actually interested in my life. Like,
Mhm.
Right. Like, why were you here then? Like, were you
yeah,
here because you thought you were going to score a
yeah,
date with me? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, that's
yeah,
where in my bio did it say, like, follow me and we'll have
yeah,
dinner?
yeah, exactly.
Bizarre. I don't get it. Do you guys, and Hannah, you're still nodding to, or sorry, Isley and Mercedes are both nodding too. Like, that's something that you guys have found
Yeah.
as far
Mhm.
as content goes.
Yeah, for sure. Just anytime I post something that's more revealing, my followers go up, and then I'm always like, these men that came here to see my ass are gonna have a harsh kick when I post all these man hating memes.
Yes.
And they like drop back down, and I'm like, so I think it's more funny. But yeah, they do that for sure.
Maybe I should start a man-hating meme page.
Oh, I would follow that.
I could probably do that, but just draw on my own self-loathing. It would be awesome. So good.
Well, what I appreciate, John, is that this whole conversation tonight was your idea, because I love the fact that you're like, hey, this is a thing that we need
Mhm.
to talk about and we need to get people to weigh in on, and that we need to listen to. And whether or not you are a man yourself and you may not have stories to contribute, like realizing that this is something that we all need to be a part of, whether you're speaking out loud or whether you're sitting back and listening, is really, really vital.
Well, I got totally annoyed reading all the comments in the Morning Chocolate
Oh,
articles because inevitably there'd be, dozens. It was dozens of douchebags coming in going, "Well, it's not all men." I'm like, did you just all lives matter this? Like
yes.
Mhm.
that's what they were doing, and like we know it's not all men. Like not all men are pigs. We know that. Like that's not the point. The point is there's a huge group of men that are doing really crappy things.
Mhm.
And the bigger issue is it's like the Wild West. Like Instagram's not doing anything about it.
Right.
Mhm.
Facebook's not doing anything about it. Twitter's not doing anything about it. Like, and they absolutely could. I know they could because every time I post something that has the word COVID in it, and I don't mean in the context, I mean, if I do a meme and
Mhm.
I have COVID in the meme, so it's not even something I'm typing into their system, it's just in the photo, they can recognize it and put that stupid
That warning on it.
little disclaimer at the bottom. So if they can figure that out, you can't tell me they can't filter out dick pics.
Mhm.
Like I know
Yeah,
they can.
that's true.
They absolutely can. They could absolutely find ways to filter out the predators and the pedophiles and like all this. And
Yeah.
we haven't even gone down those rabbit holes, nor will we.
Yeah.
But I know they can. This is a company worth billions with a capital B.
I think
Mhm.
the hard part for me is that, like, yes, they'll take action when something like, Hannah has a fake profile made of her, but first of all, you got to get a whole bunch of people to like report it all at
Yeah.
once, or
Yeah.
else nothing actually
And then there's also like the flip side of this too, where it's like I've had a lot of friends like get this profile, like fake profiles made of them, and it's like it's this weird kind of double-edged sword where it's like, oh, nobody has made one of me. Like, am I not hot enough for this? Like, and then it's like, and then you don't want one, but you also don't not want one because it's like, like it's this really weird like phenomenon that's come up with catcalling, I find, where it's like you don't want the attention, but you don't want to not be like, like considered for
Yeah,
this.
and I think what that shows is how normal it is, how normal it has become, how it has become the norm to be judged and have that sort of, that judgment on your looks be a public validation of who you are. And that's
Mhm.
like, if it's become so normal to get catcalled that when you don't get catcalled, you're like, oh man, am I not hot? Like that is taking the like victim blaming and taking the society and taking the like everything that is shitty about this and really trying to open people's eyes to the fact that like this is the world we live in. Like no one's making this shit up. It's not like, oh, sorry, you got one dick pic, Mercedes. It's like, no. Like we are so now normalized to the fact that you have a fake profile made after you when you're hot, that when you're not, it's like, oh shit, as a society, we have let that thinking become the norm.
Mhm.
And especially like, like I post a lot of photos like in my booty shorts and sports bra or my bathing suit because I work hard and I'm proud and I want to show that off. And it's
Mhm.
really interesting to see like the difference between like I follow everyone like in the fitness community, like the difference between like when guys post a photo, like male bodybuilders in their underwear, it's like, wow, great work. You must have worked really hard. You're so disciplined. Then it's like when I do the exact same photo, it's like I get 6 dick pics and people are calling me a whore.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
It's like it's the same
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Or
Mhm.
they're telling Mercedes that she must be on steroids or whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
For the record, no one has ever told me I look like I'm on steroids, ever.
I know it's kind of a
Maybe you can
double-edged
start
compliment
that.
because I'm like, I would be honored that you think that, but at the same time,
Right.
fuck you.
Right.
Right.
Off because I'm like, what, a girl can't be semi-strong? Are you
Yeah.
sad because I squat more than you? Like,
Well, it's discrediting
hello.
your work, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you're like, damn, they think I'm strong enough to use roids.
And I'm not. That's the thing. I'm just like, oh my God, if I was, I'd be like a bajillion times better. Like, you know what I
When
mean?
people
Like,
ask me, I just say yes.
Totally. So roided up. You don't come near me because I might
Yeah.
roid rage on you.
Right.
Sorry, not sorry.
Well, for me, I don't think we're not going to solve anything tonight with Instagram
No.
or Facebook or like any of the companies that could prevent this. But I think where you guys could help others in similar situations, and sharing your story is a huge help to a lot of people. But, I guess I'd really just kind of ask, any advice, and again, let's just kind of go around the horn. We'll start with Hannah again, but any advice you would offer to, you know, anyone, I was going to say young women, but any women that are, going on Instagram and posting varied, like you have very varied content, Hannah, like, and to your point, like you do a lot where you'll do, bikini pics or progress pics or whatever. Like, any advice to people that are kind of in your segment to how to deal with this mentally, emotionally?
I gotta be honest, it doesn't bother me that much. But if it does, like I would try, like I've got my messages set up so that anybody I don't know goes into my message requests. So it doesn't pop up as a notification, so I'm not getting it when I'm not prepared for it. Like I know if I'm going into my message request folder, like I'm in a space that I'm like, okay, let's look and see what's going on. It bothers me when people comment on my stuff, but I also know posting these kinds of pics is going to like attract that. So like I'm just ready to delete them. Um, I'm lucky enough that I'm confident enough that I see these comments and I can just delete them and move on with my day. I don't know if it's really going to derail you. Like I don't know what I would um, suggest for that, to be honest.
No, you said it bothers you when they comment. Are they saying you direct message comments, or is this like right in the comment section?
Right on the comments, like when people people ask if I'm going to, crush their head between my thighs on my photo that my grandparents can see. That's embarrassing.
Such a
Yeah.
thing. That
Like,
happens all the
like
time.
if you're gonna be a dick, like at least DM it so that I could
delete
just
it. Yeah.
So here's one thing. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to change your behavior, Hannah. So don't
yeah.
misunderstand this when I tell you this. But you can absolutely put in keywords where it won't allow the comment to come in with certain keywords.
Really?
Yep.
Huh, did not
Oh,
know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yes, that's a when you run a meme page, you have to have a lot of keywords
Ah,
plugged in that
noted.
you don't want to see
Ah.
come in for sure.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a good idea. Yeah, and like it's just something that I've known comes with the territory, and I've just kind of embraced that. Like I'm like, okay, like I'm posting this picture. I know this is gonna happen, but I'm okay with that and ready to deal with that when I post it. That's
Okay.
just sort of where it's at.
Mercedes, how about you? You go on a rant pretty often. That's one thing I like about your page. She'll just go on these rants, Nikki, her story. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm in for 5 or 6 slides here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm instantly
Can't
gonna
stop.
follow you.
Oh,
Let's
All
hear it.
I love a good rant. I always
Sometimes
love a good rant.
they're very far between. Sometimes I find it takes energy because after I get a bajillion messages from people who
Mhm.
agree or have like additional stories, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. So I haven't really done it a lot recently, but well, recently I did, but like they're like months. I feel like they're months apart sometimes. My big thing was I did this glute series. I don't remember, like, I'm gonna say like not this Christmas, but the Christmas before. And it was like, I don't know, like a 10-week glute series. And it was the gym owner's idea. from one of the gyms that I work out of, because everyone jokes about my butt. And I did it because it was like, it's a good way to get girls to start lifting weights instead of using booty bands and being in on like doing a lot of cardio and
Yep.
not eating enough. So it was like all these rules for building a butt, like that kind of thing. And there was like pictures, and obviously with pictures, there's going to be a lot of messages and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up stopping this series, and I kind of regret it, just because I had a lot of girls who were really liked it. Like they were like, this is like real stuff. But at the same time, it was like, it just wasn't worth the energy of trying to like delete all the things that were coming with it. And like my goal was not to attract a bunch of pervs to my account. My goal was to educate women on how to actually build muscle instead of starving themselves. Like that's what I wanted to do. And instead I got all the other stuff too that came with it, and like the content's still there. I didn't delete it, but like that's a thing. And I just find that like I used to post a lot more selfies because so like I went through a breakup in the summer, and as a result I needed validation. So I posted selfies because I felt good about my body because I worked
Hell
hard.
yeah.
I was
And
gonna say I'm here for it. Post them.
Fucking love
We
a
want to see
good
it.
selfie.
Yeah, and I
Right?
Bring it on.
yeah, and I had people who I love like comment and like it, and that meant a lot. And then I had a bunch of people who said weird things, and I'm like, sure, like sometimes it was like cool because I was like, oh yeah, like some nice person, but like no dick pics. I don't want those. I don't want your naked body, a picture of your naked body flexing at me either. Like that, does that work for you? Does that really work for you? Do you get people answering you when you do that? Like I just, it confuses me. And as a result, I've noticed I stopped posting pictures because over time it's like, what can I manage like mentally? Like I start, like most of my posts are like, I'm associated with Popeyes Winnipeg. So supplements, like that they want us to advertise, my own progress in terms of like me working out, typically squats, snatches, those things don't get a lot of feedback as much as like other stuff
Mhm.
that would, right? And then it's like, and then my clients progress because those get like the least amount of like random messages. And I didn't realize that I was doing that until being in a group like this. I'm like reflecting on my posts. I'm like, wow, I'm posting way less, but it's because all these people who are sending these messages makes you think like, wow, what are the people who like in my like circle or in Winnipeg, like what are they thinking? Like where I live, like are they thinking the same thing as like the people who are sending me random messages? Like, am I not being taken seriously because I'm a serious person? And I'm a goofball sometimes, but like I'm also a very serious person, and I am a professional, and it made me feel like I wasn't a professional, if that makes sense. So like that's my rant. I guess and I don't want it to be like that. Like I want to be able to like post pictures and not, and then fight back against the people who comment and say the shit that they say, right? And sometimes I do. Sometimes I have like the fiery person in me just goes off, and other times I just don't have the energy for it. So my solution is to just not post anything that'll.
Exhausting to have to do that all the time, to 100% of the time have your guard up like that. It's exhausting.
Isley, what about you? You said earlier you're just going to take care of it. I'm scared to ask what that means.
Good.
I was gonna say I have a lot to say actually. So like first off, for like the women that are like maybe listening, like if something really makes you happy and you really want to share that, I like share that. And fuck anyone that wants to like put that in a negative light. Fuck what people think, because like you live for you, and that's like it. Like you live for you. And so it actually makes me super angry when people, like I said, dull themselves because they're worried about how other people are going to perceive them. And it doesn't make me angry at the person. It makes me angry that society has become such a thing that we think it's okay to shit on everyone. Like everyone's doing their best. And I don't know why people get threatened by people being happy, because that's what it comes down to. People are miserable and they get mad at people being happy. So if like posting a butt pic makes you happy, post that fucking butt pic. If posting a picture in like head to toe clothing like makes you happy, post that picture. Like people are gonna judge you, but it has more to say about them than it has to say about you. Like literally always. Because I don't think I've ever met like happy people that look at photos of someone being happy and they're like, I'm gonna go shit on this person's day. They're like, no, I love that. I'm here for you. I support that. Like I'm here for this. Alternatively, for the men, if you notice that your friends are saying and doing shitty things, like hold them accountable.
Hell
If you don't
yeah.
think that that's cool, like I know that that's your friend, but just be like, dude, nah, like no, that's not. Why would you associate with that, and why would you care about someone that has those shitty beliefs, like even being in your life and or wanting their validation? Because anyone that has shitty opinions, I'm like, I literally don't care about them. Like I don't need your opinions in my life because they're not going to build me. So I feel like people should hold their friends accountable.
I am
totally agree.
here for that. I love yelling at people on Nikki's page. It's
That's
my favorite
true,
pastime.
dude. Lord help anyone that comes like into my comments just to tell me I have a big nose, because John is coming for you. It is like, it's bad. It's real bad. No, but I think that that's a huge point that we haven't really even touched on, and I'm sure we don't have time because it's like we could do another whole entire podcast on it. But you know, we're shifting away from this like old school mentality in society where, like, you know, where men could get away with more of this shit, and coming into an era where you do have to hold each other accountable, both men and women, where it's not cool. If you have a friend, if you're a guy and you have a friend who's like, oh, look, I sent this chick my dick. Like, it's not cool to be like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to be like, hey man, that's
That was a
fucked.
terrible impression, Nikki. Terrible impression.
No,
Was it? Was it entirely accurate?
Okay,
I'm
maybe it
just
was
wondering.
accurate. Maybe it was accurate.
I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a huge part of this, is like, we're all in it together. It's not this like, she posted this and then he said that. It's like, no, everybody stop being shitty.
That's literally what it is. Everyone stop being shitty. And like, that means women included, because there's plenty of women that feel threatened by a happy woman that's literally living her best life, because once again, like maybe they're not. And like for her, hopefully she finds something that makes her happy, because that's a miserable existence. And like for whoever she's putting that on, like my thing is, I'm always like, I'm so sorry that you're this miserable.
Yes.
I'm so sorry that you're this sad. Like that actually hurts me that you're this sad. So there's that.
Well, I know that you didn't ask me, but can I answer the question too?
Yes.
It's kind of a backwards answer in that I have no answer, because I don't have advice for when this happens to other women, because I'm truly still learning about how to deal with it myself. And it doesn't happen to me, doesn't sound like it happens to me nearly as often as it happens to you ladies. So I think I'm pretty lucky with my follower base. But when it does happen, it makes me so angry and so upset and so uncomfortable that I truly don't really even know how to process it on my own yet. And it's been years. I've been online. I'm old as hell, especially in comparison to you guys. So, you know, I've been in this world already for a million years, and it's never gotten better or easier. So I think it should just stop. That's mud, I think. The harassment should just stop, point blank.
Never once have I gotten one of these DMs and been like, you know what? Maybe I'll go over. No, you become the laughing stock of my friend group. Like, everyone's making fun of you. Like, it doesn't work.
Right. Totally. Exactly.
They do sometimes stop sending them if you post them in your stories, because like I had a lot and then I started posting them and people got a lot less weird. I was like, hey, look at this guy being
big dick. Yeah, I love it.
Look, I'm really good at Photoshop. I'm just saying, if you guys wanted to send me stuff and have me Photoshop for you, I'm happy to do so. But,
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
well, I really appreciate you guys coming on and just, you know, honestly telling your story. I mean, I know if we're going to accomplish anything tonight, I want to open people's eyes to what just a epidemic this is of horribleness in the internet, which I don't think is a shock, but I don't think people think of it affecting real people. They think of, you know, I kept seeing comments like, well, professional athletes get people to moderate their page for them, you know, and which A, isn't true. But B, you shouldn't have to get somebody else to. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. And you know, the only advice I'd give to people listening, you know, Isley stole my best advice. I'm going to edit her out and act like I said this first, which is if you see a friend of yours, male or female, because it happens on both, for the record. I saw plenty of female voices in those comments on the Chalk Up article saying really shitty things. Call them out. Do not let them off the hook at all. My second advice is if you run a page or you run a gym or, you see comments coming in, you need to moderate it hard and have a zero tolerance policy. And, gym owners, like, this is happening in your gyms. Like, you've got men saying things to women in your gyms. You need a zero tolerance policy. And I know everybody's listening going, it didn't happen in my gym. Yes, it does. It absolutely
It
does.
definitely does.
Yes, open your eyes. Open
Yeah.
your eyes. It's happening everywhere.
It's absolutely happening everywhere. You need a zero tolerance policy. And you guys said it best. Quit being shitty to people.
Yes.
And hopefully, the corporations that are running these pages and sites will, start to do a much better job of moderating it and policing it. But until then, we need to stick up for each other. So for you four, because I'm already protecting Nikki.
Yes.
Now you three are under my umbrella of harsh memeness and defense. So if you see something come on your page, just message me and I will make their life miserable.
Get
Shoot
in
it
there
over
with
to
the
ya.
wittiest and worst comments. It's great. I love it.
It's the best part of my day, really, to be honest. It's the best part. All right. Well, ladies, thank you for joining. Nikki, thank you as always.
Of
For working.
course.
I didn't even ask baby name this week.
I don't have a new one. No, I don't have a new one. The list stands.
Ladies, you guys want to suggest a baby name
Do you have
before
any
we
boy
sign off?
names?
Well, I did like Axel too.
Yes.
Everyone loved Axel. Axel's not on the real life list, you guys. It's just
Killing me.
can't be. I know.
That's not going to keep me from calling him Axel.
That's fine.
Still
You
there.
can call him baby Axel. It's fine with me.
Little Axel, John Woolley, Matt Frazier Brazier.
Matt Fraser.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, we'll sign off. Everyone, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you guys soon.